Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
We'll just push through and unless something blows up on
Yes.
us.
Okay.
Awesome. Welcome everybody. This is our GDEX interviews that we've been conducting with some of our high profile speakers, the people we're excited to have out. Today I've got Kate Edwards, previously of the IGDA, but you are also doing a host of other things. Um, I would say foremost being a world traveler. Uh, how do you how do you handle like being everywhere all the time?
Well, I mean, to be honest, and thank you again for inviting me to speak at GDEX. I'm really excited to come out and speak because I know we've been talking about this event for a while, and I'm really happy that I finally get a chance to attend. So,
That's my pleasure.
um, well, as far as the travel goes, I guess that's part of the reasons I became a geographer because I love to travel. I love I mean, even if it's places I've been to before, I mean, I tend to, go, if I go somewhere I've been even multiple times, I always try and find something new to do there. Just even if it's a 5 or 10 minute distraction, just to go do something. And so yeah, I get used to it. I mean, you get into that pattern where you've got your travel routine, and you become more comfortable with that routine than any kind of home routine that you have. And I get a lot of people asking me, where do you actually live? And my joke is that my mortgage is here in the Seattle area, but other than that, yeah, I just kind of get around. And, a lot of it's because I love public speaking. I mean, I love getting the word out about advocacy issues, and I get asked to speak a lot about like my culturalization work in the game industry. And so I just really enjoy it. So as long as people keep asking, I'm going to keep doing it.
Awesome. So when you and I first met, it was 2 or 3 years ago at GDC,
Hmm.
and you were executive director of the IGDA. We kind of
Hmm.
got to chat briefly. I know you were running around doing a lot of stuff over the weekend.
Yeah.
But I mean, you saw the IGDA through quite a few things. I don't know if you want to let folks know what the IGDA is and maybe some of the initiatives and things you took part of when you were there.
Yeah, so the International Game Developers Association was created in 1994, basically at a time when there were certain figures like Jack Thompson in the U.S. government who were very anti-video game, and so that year was a huge landmark year for the game industry, at least in the United States, because the Entertainment Software Association was created that year, the trade association for game companies, and then the ESRB, the ratings board that's part of the ESA, that was also created that year. And then the IGDA was also created that year, originally as the Computer Game Developers Association, and later changed its name to International. And all of this was in response to this anti-game backlash that was going on in the government. And so all of these organizations were created to basically give a voice to the industry, the ESA being from more the corporate executive side, and the IGDA more from the rank and file developer side. And so I'd gotten involved in the IGDA in around 2004 when I left, just before I left Microsoft. And I knew that leaving Microsoft, I wanted to get involved in the game industry a lot more and do my culturalization work primarily there. And so I joined the IGDA because I knew it was a great community of people around the world, and with chapters all over the place. And, I kind of laid low for a while, but then I eventually created the localization special interest group in the IGDA because there wasn't one. And I heard a lot of local people just bitching and moaning how nobody cares about what we do, and nobody
Hmm.
understands what we do. And so I'm just like, well, let's create a group to fix that. And so we did. And then I helped run the Seattle chapter for a while. And eventually they approached me and asked if I'd be interested in being the executive director of the global organization. And because I was really dissatisfied at the time with the way the org was being run and just kind of the direction of it in general, I immediately said, yes, I will do this. I want to do this. And then I basically got the job in late 2012 and ran that organization for 5 years. It wasn't easy. I mean, there was a lot of systemic issues in our industry that continue to be problems, like crunch, lack of diversity, things of that nature, a general
Yeah.
unfairness we see. between employers and employees, which has just been vastly illustrated with the whole issue with Telltale Games recently.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's tough.
And you were also there, if I have my timeline right. You were sort of right there in the start of the Gamergate as well, right?
I was. So I was basically in the both the best and worst position you could be in during that time as a woman running a large global game developer association.
Mm-hmm.
So I was easily one of their main targets for at least 2 years, getting harassed and death.
We're having a pretty big storm out here, so I don't know.
Oh, that could be part of it.
Okay, but I think we're back. And then unfortunately cut out at like probably the worst time as you were kind of going into it. So I'm not sure where we lost track on, but
well, I remember. I mean, basically, I was saying it was during Gamergate and running the IGD during that time. It was difficult. I mean, it was I was glad that I was in that role to be able to be a voice and to keep pushing back on what I felt was really anti-productive rhetoric around the lack of diversity and all these issues and the harassment of women and everything that was going on during that time. And of course, they pivoted to, say, no, we're about ethics in games journalism. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure. Anyway, it became a very complicated issue, and it became politicized, and the rest is kind of history. But the main issue is that what I think was really important for that time is that it got the industry focusing on diversity or the lack thereof.
Absolutely. And I mean, as a more positive note too, you were also in that time period. You got a couple prestigious awards, so I think your hard work was recognized by at least a few people.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, that kind of recognition is always nice. It's obviously not why myself or anyone else does it, but it does feel good to know that, every once in a while that what you're doing and what you're striving for is something that people basically collectively recognize that, yeah, we want this too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've done some pretty amazing things, and that's why I'm super excited to have you at GDEX, and actually I asked you to be our GDEX Perspectives speaker, which it's something we started I think 5 years ago, where I wanted to just have a session to the weekend that was specifically where we tried to find someone who could talk about the gaming industry from some sort of interesting perspective, whether that's things like around gaming, like women in gaming, or LGBT issues, or whatever. And I thought you would be exceptional at this because you're going to be able to bring in a global perspective into GDEX. That, I mean, we've had international developers before, but definitely not on the scale of something like a PAX or a GDC. And so I think your insight and experiences are going to be really, really interesting.
Well, I'm looking forward to sharing them because that's one of the reasons. I mean, when people ask me, like, why do I travel so much? And it's not just because I get asked to speak at different events. I mean, there is a very strong desire to understand what's going on the ground in these different markets around the world, understanding the pain points of developers in all kinds of different situations. We can all look to North America, and we're pretty familiar with how it works here with the indie space and the AAA space and everything in between. And it's fascinating to go to places like Iran, where I was there just 2.5 months ago, or to go to Morocco, or where Tunisia, or wherever else I go. A lot of emerging markets, Colombia, Chile, so on and so forth, to understand what the issues are. And what's really cool, of course, is that you find out that across this wide range of people, cultures, and geographies, there are pretty much, we're all striving for the same thing, and we're all have similar concerns and similar challenges that we face. But then there's things that are local that are, specifically challenging to different groups. And the indies and what they face, for example, in Iran is a lot different from what they face in Colombia. But there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from each other, and that's the whole point in doing that, having that cross-cultural understanding as game developers and sharing it with each other.
Absolutely. I mean, even something as simple as, and I'm glad that we were able to get you to come out because I went to the video game art gallery in
Hmm.
Chicago. I went to their opening reception last year. They invited me out, and their showcasing artists were two artists from Cuba. And
Mm,
they were just talking about how the internet is so bad there that
yeah.
every day they pack up their desktop computers and their monitors and they just go out to the public square where they have free Wi-Fi from the government. And
Hmm.
they're out there all, 8, 10, 12 hours a day. They work, they pack it back up and take it home. And like
Wow.
even just something as simple as like access to reliable internet, which
Hmm.
we may or may not be demonstrating here on this interview, but like that just is a that's a huge world of difference in just being able to accomplish anything. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. And yet the thing that's really cool about it is that despite all of those challenges, the passion for game creation is just as strong as in these other markets as it is here in North America. I mean, it's super strong. It's a universal passion, and which basically keeps underscoring the fact that games are truly an art form because
Absolutely.
the people who make these games, I mean, they all exhibit the same kind of creative passion that you'll find in any other field like literature or filmmaking or television or anything. And so it's really cool to see that everywhere I go.
That's awesome. Well, I want to be conscious of your time. So the question that I sort of always leave with our guests in this interview is, what are you looking forward to at GDEX? Outside of the talks you're going to give, is there something that you're excited to be a part of or participate in?
Well, I think that for me, one of the things that I love the most about going to events, no matter where they are, is being able to see indie games and kind of see kind of what is the local creative aesthetic. I mean, what are people bringing to the table? What do they want to show? I mean, I love games just as much as anybody, and so having that opportunity to see what's out there. Because like a lot of people in the industry, we don't get to play a lot of games because we're so busy.
Yeah.
Um, so for example, I get asked to judge a lot of contests, often indie contests, and I usually say yes every single time because it gives me an opportunity to play a lot of stuff that I may have never seen before and just see some amazing stuff that's out there. So yeah, I mean, I think seeing games, but also interacting with their creators. That's the most fun of all, and so I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, that's great. We have more games with GDEX than we ever have before, so
Awesome.
I have no doubt that there will be some really cool stuff to play as well as I don't know if you've played Killer Queen yet.
No, I have not.
Okay, so we are hosting the Midwest finals at GDEX this year. So we are the last stop in the I believe a 4-stop journey. So we're going to have cabinets. So I highly suggest checking that out. It's a really fun game.
Awesome. Very cool.
Great. Well, thank you again, everybody. I am Chris Volpe. You can find me at Volpe Creates on the interwebs. And I want to thank again Kate Edwards, who will be joining us in, 3 days here for
Yes.
GDEX 2018, who is going to be spearheading our GDEX Perspectives Talk. So, Kate, again, I'm excited to have you, and I will see you in a few days.
All right. See you soon. Thank you.